watching. However, spoiler warning for that, so if you think you might remember or you don't want it ruined, then I recommend you turn off now. Huge thank you for watching up until this point, and hopefully I'll see you again in 2 years' time. Or Night of the Seven Kingdoms, when that comes. There's some bits that tease that. Yay! Now let me know in the comments if you're from then as well, and also let me know what happened to the world. Anyway, first major thing I want to talk about is the storming of King's Landing. Rhaenyra ends up taking charge of the Red Keep once more, and I think this is going to be the main thing that happens next time. She does this while Aemond and Cole are at Harrenhal, and it seems like Alicent might even open the doors for her. Even if she doesn't though, she still told Rhaenyra about the city being defenseless, so I can see it not mattering either way. We know in the work that Aegon was gone when they arrived, so it's not like her pleading he was spared really makes a difference. It would help down the line, but someone who's captured and held is Helaena. In the end, she throws herself from the Red Keep and falls to her death. Now looking at her and Aemond looking over the balcony, I think this is the location where she's going to do it from. The work says that she was held in Maegor's holdfast, and after her son Maelor was killed, that his head was sent to her in a chamber pot. This was apparently done to mock her, as a chamber pot's something that people do their business in. Some thought this was done by Rhaenyra, who apparently laughed away as she sent it off, or at least ordered it, but I don't think this is something that they'll touch on in the show. She's shown some kinship with Helaena in the past, namely episode 2, where she was sympathetic that they were both mothers to murdered boys. Helaena then leapt from the room window and died after being impaled on the spikes below. Now there were rumours that she was murdered, but it's a massive thing in the kingdom. Due to Alicent's comments about wanting to save her but Helaena refusing to go, ultimately we know that it's gonna lead to this. Now the thing with Rhaenyra and Nettles that's drastically different is that Nettles ends up hooking up with Daemon. Daemon practically leaves Rhaenyra to be with her, but Rhaenyra is of course his daughter. I can't see them going down that route for the TV show, and instead I think they've shown his disloyalty through other means. His entire arc this season with all the visions has been about him questioning himself and what he really wants. He's basically been telling people he's the king, but in the end he bends the knee to Rhaenyra. Still though, that would be treason to some, but put the pitchforks away mate. It's obviously not too dissimilar to what the Greens were doing with Aegon, it's just that Daemon happens to be fighting them. So yeah, him bending the knee makes me feel we will skip over that stuff with him falling in love with Nettles while Rhaenyra, but in case I don't, I thought I'd share that in the spoiler section. Either way, when Daemon quote-unquote dies, we know that his body's never found. This happens at the God's Eye, and it comes when he's been fighting Aemond. This links back to the vision from before, and also what Helaena said to her brother. We know that Daemon went to the weirwood tree in the courtyard and slashed away at it waiting for the character to arrive. Him having this vision here adds credence to why he went to it, and both dragons tussle in the air. He then leapt from Caraxes and stabbed Aemond through the eye before all four fell into the God's Eye. The work doesn't really confirm whether he's alive or dead, and he's never brought up again. Some think that he ended up fleeing Westeros, and someone else who was never spotted again was Nettles, or her dragon. In the work, I always felt like the pair had run away together, but I doubt that's going to be something they do in the show, especially because Rhaenyra's his daughter. Now getting this makeshift navy is extremely important, as it's what really brings a change in the war. We know that the Triarchy fleet sees the Gay Abannon, and this has them capturing the princes. Yet the plans of men are but playthings to the gods, for even as Jace laid his plans, a new threat was coming from the east. The schemes of Otto Hightower had borne fruit. Meeting in Tyrosh, the High Council of the Triarchy had accepted his offer of alliance. 90 warships swept from the stepstones under the banners of the three daughters, bending their oars for the gullet, and as chance would have it, the Pentoshi cog, the Gay Abannon, carrying 2 Targaryen princes, sailed straight into their teeth. Now we then learned the escorts sent to protect the cog were sunk or taken, the Gay Abannon captured. The tale reached Dragonstone only when Prince Aegon arrived desperately clinging to the neck of his dragon Stormcloud. The boy was white with terror, Mushroom tells us, shaking like a leaf and stinking of piss. Only 9, he had never flown before and would never fly again, for Stormcloud had been terribly wounded as he fled the Gay Abannon, arriving with the stubs of countless arrows embedded in his belly and a scorpion bolt through his neck. He died within the hour, hissing as hot blood gushed black smoking from his wounds. Now Prince Viserys unfortunately only had an egg on the boat, so he wasn't able to ride away on a dragon. That's not an Aegon pun. So he disguised himself as one of the boys on the ship, but he was caught and then snitched on by another shipmate. Anyway, we have the Battle of the Gullet right around the corner, which I think is going to be something early on in the next season. This comes in the aftermath of the Gay Abannon, and it sees one of the biggest battles in the war. Now it seems like they might be giving Otto's arc to Tywin, and I feel like Otto may be beheaded soon. He was killed during the war, and I do wonder if that's the way they're gonna go. Anyway, after Prince Aegon arrived on Dragonstone and he brought word of what had happened, it all kicked off. The Triarchy ships entered the gullet, which is where they surprised the Valyrian fleet. Riding to their aid, Jace leapt into action on the back of Vermax. Ulf and Hugh Hammer joined him, along with Nettles, which again will likely be Rhaenyra in the show. However, the Triarchy had up their weapons to fight dragons, and they managed to take Vermax down. In the book it said he was shot through the eye, which is similar to Meraxes. However, the accounts in the work say this may not have been the case. Several differing tales were told afterwards of how and why the dragon fell. Some claimed a crossbowman put an iron bolt through his eye, but this version seems suspiciously similar to the way Meraxes met her end, long ago in Dawn. Another account tells us that a sailor in the crow's nest of the Irish gallery cast a grapnel as Vermax was swooping through the fleet. One of its prongs found purchase between the two scales and was driven deep by the dragon's own considerable speed. The sailor had coiled his end of the chain about the mast, and the weight of the ship and the power of Vermax's wings tore a long jagged gash in the dragon's belly. The dragon's shriek of rage was heard as far off as Spicetown, even through the clangor of battle. His flight jerked to a violent end. Vermax went down smoking and screaming, clawing the water. Survivors said he struggled to rise, only to crash headlong into a burning galley. Wood splintered, the mast came tumbling down, and the dragon, thrashing, became entangled in the rigging. When the ship heeled over and sank, Vermax sank with her. Crashing into the sea, Jace jumped from his back and tried to clutch onto a boat. However, he was shot and killed by archers who were aligned along the ships. I feel this is why Rhaenyra keeps looking at the dragon Meraxes, and we end with her once more at it because I think it's foreshadowing the death of her son. So I think that's going to be a major part of the opening of Season 3, and I actually think it'll affect both Ulf and Hugh quite heavily. The pair end up defecting to the Greens, and they may use this battle as a way to convince them their side isn't that invincible. To be honest, the way people are speaking to Ulf, he's kind of going to go off anyway, I feel, because the guy he's just pushing all the wrong buttons. Rhaenyra might even blame him for her son's death, and yeah, I can see why he'd end up switching sides. Hugh, no idea yet. To be honest though, we kinda need people to go turncoat, otherwise the war's gonna be very one-sided. The Greens have Vhagar, Targaryen, Dreamfire and Sunfire. The last two aren't really operational at this point, and though Sunfire comes back, the Blacks have an easy win. Now, another thing that rocks the Blacks is the King's Landing riots, which may have been set up by what happened to a character in episode 6. There we saw as someone had their arm cut off, and it's possible that this is the Shepherd. In case you don't know, this is a character who only had one hand who stirred civil unrest in the city. Claiming that dragons were demons, he stoked a religious fever. I do wonder if the Dragon Keepers from the last episode will be seen in the Dragon Pit here, and this will bring things full circle from that. I'm guessing that if they can't be at home on Dragonstone, they'll leave for the Dragon Pit at King's Landing, and it could all be building out from that. Lastly, Rhaenyra is killed when she's caught by Aegon and his crew, and had she spared him here, that never would have happened. Might not be something you do in the show, but yeah, it's interesting here how her fate could have been avoided.